The pick is in.
And the Edmonton Oilers have made a selection in the 2024 NHL Draft. I'm Gil Martin, and we are joined by Nick Zararis from Locked On Oilers to break down Edmonton's selection of Sam O'Reilly with the 32nd overall pick, presented by Indeed. There is no I in team, but there is one in Indeed, and that's the hiring platform you need to build yours. To upgrade your job post at Indeed.com/lockedon. So, Nick, what do you think of Sam O'Reilly as the first-round pick for the Edmonton Oilers?
It makes sense. The Oilers are going to have to start figuring out what the next permutation of the team is going to be. And the later you pick in the first round, the more often you're picking for the subsequent year. You don't expect Sam O'Reilly to be in the NHL this upcoming season, probably not next season either. But 2 years from now, more likely than not, you'll be ready to transition him into your NHL lineup. And he fills a very necessary box, that next middle six guy who has a little bit of top six upside, who may be able to ride shotgun with a Connor McDavid or Leon Draisaitl a couple years from now, when they might need guys with a little bit more legs who might be able to take a little bit more of a defensive responsibility as those guys get into their late 20s and early 30s.
What impresses you most about his game?
The fact that he's pretty well-rounded already for a young guy, somebody who killed penalties, which you typically don't see from the underage guys in the OHL. So that alone tells me that he's relatively further along, because 200-foot game is typically something that gets ingrained in them as they get older. And the fact that he was already killing penalties his first real year of playing for the London Knights, that tells me that he's further along. He's already 6'1", he's already around 180 pounds. So you figure by the time he gets to the NHL level, probably fills that out a little bit more of the traditional two-way center that weighs in. He might not even play center when he gets to the NHL at that point. That's also something to consider.
And is there one thing you feel he has to work on to be ready for the NHL?
Probably you want a little bit more instinctual play as opposed to just technique. That's something that not every player ultimately develops. If he turns into your typical 50-point guy, that's perfectly fine. But if he wants to ride in the Oilers' top six 2-3 years from now, you would like a little bit more of offensive instinct, because he's already got the foundational aspects of his game down. He's a pretty solid skater. He's pretty okay physically. He's okay defensively. But if he adds a little more offense to his game, he's a little bit under a point per game this past season. So if that number ticks up just a smidge, then you should be encouraged, because ideally, the longer you're playing at that level, the junior level, you're going to get a little more acclimated. You're going to start playing against younger guys. You'll be one of the older players. And that should, in theory, commiserate with an increase in offensive production.
All right. Well, for more on the Oilers, subscribe to Locked On Oilers on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. And for more on Sam O'Reilly, let's get an inside look on his path to the National Hockey League.
Sam O'Reilly's a definition of a safe pick for the 2024 NHL Draft, but does he have enough upside to be a first-rounder? I'm Hattie Kalakash from Locked On NHL Prospects, ready to give you the breakdown. O'Reilly's a 6'1", 180-pound right-shot center who played for the London Knights in the OHL. He scored 20 goals and added 36 assists for 56 points in 68 games. And O'Reilly's game is just so incredibly polished. He's a great defensive play killer with some of the best positioning and reads in the draft. He's always in the right spots, or he's always figuring out what happens next. He's also a strong playmaker as a result of those smarts, and he was just so clutch for London in their playoff run in Memorial Cup. O'Reilly's skating isn't the best, but he's another one of those prospects who I don't think really needs the blistering speed in order to be effective. He's going to be a very good bottom six penalty-killing forward in the NHL one day, but I also think he's got a chance to develop similarly to Joel Eriksson-Ek once he gets there. For more on O'Reilly and all things NHL Draft, make sure to follow and subscribe to Locked On NHL Prospects on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts.
And for continuing coverage of the 2024 NHL Draft, subscribe to Locked On NHL on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.